Hello there, you're in the Beat Sessions. I'm your host, Mitchell Weary. Let's chat about this new record from Paolo Nutini entitled Last Night in the Bittersweet. That was released on July 1st. This is studio album number 4 for him and his follow-up to 2014's Caustic Love. And I'm so stoked to have new music from this guy after 8 years. It's definitely far too long since we've heard from him, but he made it worth our patience. Nice big double LP with this new project. 16 songs, 72 minutes on the runtime. Love everything about that. You know me, I don't like wasted wax, and there's not a moment of wasted vinyl on this project. So one of the many things that's really well done about this record. Paolo is an incredible songwriter. Very dynamic songwriter. Done a lot of different stuff. There really isn't anything that's off limits to him. And what I love about this record is, first and foremost, his voice sounds incredible. I really love the way it's matured. It just it's kind of like a fine wine. I hate to sound cheesy in that regard, but it's a very poignant comparison to make. His voice, you can hear the sense of maturity in its intonation, but you can also hear the maturity in what he's doing lyrically. This is a great record as far as the way that it contemplates a lot of different things in life: love and anxiety, ambition and hope and fear. And, he assesses the highs and lows of all of those things and really does it in a very eloquently done way. I'm really enjoying just the perspective that he's taking lyrically on this record. I think this is the type of project that is certainly worth the effort in grabbing the lyrics and following along while you listen to this record. Musically, though, talk about this guy and nothing really being off limits to him, but I love the focus of this record on all things UK rock and roll. This really feels like a solid survey of all things rock and roll out of the UK for the last 60 years. You can hear classic rock, garage rock, post-punk. There's the 90s alternative scene. There's the influence alternative scenes out of the 2000s and the 2010s. There's so much driving this record. There's even a little bit of an electronic influence on this thing. And I got to admit, I love electronic music. I love the house scene coming out of England in the mid-90s and the early 90s. So there's some moments where you feel that influence, and he's obviously working in a ton of other different stuff that really makes this record a fun exploration of all different sorts of sounds. But this thing, I love the focus on rock and roll. I love that the drive is there, and I especially love the bass work on this record. The riffs that he's throwing down on the bass are just outstanding and really one of the highlights of the record. I know I'm biased as a bass player, but you can throw this thing on, and I have a feeling that with the way that instrument drives so many of these songs, it's going to be tough for it not to be one of the just first things that you notice immediately and love about this record. But let's jump into the track list. A lot to talk about here as far as the songs. This thing, it kicks off with Afterneath, and I love the loose open on this track. And you talk about some of those different influences there. In this opening, it's like I said, it's loose, and it really sounds like Robert Plant fronting Radiohead. I mean, if I had to make a comparison and give you an idea of what this opening sounds like, it's what it reminded me of. But I love the way this song comes together. You get this funky bass and this drums that bring it together. I love the spoken word vocal element that takes over in this track. There's some samples from Quentin Tarantino on this thing. It's a really interesting way to open up this record and sets a pretty interesting tone for the rest of the album. Radio is your second track. Love the driving bass on this song. It's just a fine example of, I'm talking about the strength of that instrument and its presence on that record. And I like the light ambience that bass hook help carries, and it just this thing really builds into a nice mellow rocker with just a great hook and a great melody. Through the Echoes is your third song. Just great simplicity in this track, really just keeping this nice kind of like alt country Americana feel to it, but it's a great mellow moment because there's not too many on this record, and I think it comes at the right time, right after Aftermath and Radio, because those are two pretty big tracks to open up this thing with. Acid Eyes, your fourth song. I love the bass and the vocal intro on this thing. Get a really thick bass tone in this song too. It's super sexy. I love the way that it sets the tone for the groove that's gonna hook you into this song, and it's so catchy. This song is one of my favorites. It's really infectious. Stranded Words is your fifth song. Bit of an interlude here. This is where his accent, you can hear it go to work a little bit. It's something that's pretty common. You listen to singers that come out of the UK, Scotland, Ireland, England, Wales, wherever they're from, and it's almost like their accent disappears when they start to sing. But I like that Paolo, in a few moments on this record, chooses to let his accent shine through, and it's great. It honestly gives the song kind of a traditional element to it. If you've ever been out there, you dip into a pub and there's usually a group of cats in the corner just playing some trad songs, and this song has that feel, even just being an interlude. And there's a bit of electronic stuff going on there as well. So I don't think I've ever talked about an interlude track so much. It just gives you an idea of how impressive he is as a songwriter. Really, all the different layers and textures on this record. There's really nothing that's that new that he's navigating on this album. He's just a guy that tends to do it better than most, and that's just my opinion on him. Lose It is your 6th song after we get out of that interlude. My favorite song on the record, I think. I love the garage rock guitar intro on this. The bass on this song is ridiculous. It's so good. This thing reminds me of a combination of Sonic Youth and Spoon. There's a little bit of the Velvet Underground in this track as well, as far as that influence. But this thing, man, when the drums hit on this song, oh, it's so good. It's definitely the best moment in the track. And it just builds into something so gorgeous, so beautiful. Really a very, very nicely put together song. Petrified in Love is your 7th track. Total surf rock feel. And this song, it comes at the right moment because Lose It is the type of song where it's like, man, how do you follow up with something like this? And I love the laid back, chill surfer rock feel of Petrified in Love. I think it's the best way to follow Lose It. It comes at the right moment, and it pulls you out of that hole that Lose It kind of sucks you into. It's a really good song. It's going to happen. But Petrified in Love, doing its worth, getting you back into the groove of the rest of the record. And this particular song, it's got a cool breakdown. A lot of it reminded me of Elvis Costello. Everywhere is your 8th track. Great build in this song. I love the horns, and his voice is outstanding on this particular song. Probably one of the best songs for him vocally on this thing. Tons of soul in this track too. Really, it shocked me. I wasn't really expecting something like this track on this record, especially after all the songs that came before it, and it hit me all the right ways. Definitely liking the feels on that. Abigail is your 9th song. Really like the acoustic and vocal country feel on this track. The guitar tone is just so sexy. There's a lot of moments on this record like that. Rides this surf rock and country feel. Nice sense of minimalism to this song. Just a good change of pace once again. Children of the Stars, your 10th song. Solid combination of alt rock and alt country. You definitely got this nice little pocket where there's a big country influence driving the sound. Heart Filled Up, yes, Heart Filled Up is where we're trying to keep track of all this stuff. Heart Filled Up is coming after Children of the Stars. That's your 11th track. Electronic drums are going to kick off this song. This opens up with a really nice acoustic and a really nice harmony element. The vocal here is really nice. Bass creeps in on this song. Guitar tone is great. And then we're going to move out of that country pocket and get into Shine a Light. That was the next song I meant to talk about. You get this electronic drum intro on this particular track. It's got this super, the tone of this synth is so deep, it's so heavy, and I really like the balance there. And then this thing, it opens up, and I love it when it kicks in. It's really got some bright melodies that evolve out of the dark opening, and another nicely done song there. Desperation is your 13th track. Solid new wave energy on this thing. I like the influence of garage rock on this track as well. The Coda reminded me of a band like the Bravery, and you talk about that different, the different alternative influences, and the 90s alternative scene. Bravery, big part of that, and you can feel their music driving the sound on some of these songs. Julianne is your 14th track. Great piano driven ballad. I really like the different instrumentation that works and is folded into this song. It's another great example of just keeping the instrumentation simple and just building a song and allowing that stuff to work in and out. Love the feel of that. Take Me, Take Mine, your penultimate track. Gentle reverb in the piano with this, just a gorgeous vocal. Such a pretty song. Really nice penultimate track. Great way to cap this thing off. Bring it into your last track, Rider, which is really brilliant, and it's really understated, and I really like the move. There's a lot of this album that feels big, that feels ambitious, and I like the simplicity of this track. And this is another great moment where his accent is coming through. You get this good, solid traditional feel in the music, given the simplicity with just the vocal and acoustic guitar element. And damn it, if it's just not a really fine way to cap off a spectacular record. I'm really pumped about this record. I think that Paolo has been out of the scene long enough. And we were talking about this with Regina Spektor the other day, that there's almost a decade's worth of new fans that might not be familiar with him. And I think with the sound of this record, with the quality of the compositions, I think that this is arguably his best record to date. And I think that this album is going to open him up to so many different fans. And I think that just the dynamic it's going to add to his live shows, the energy of these songs I'm really looking forward to checking him out. So we're going to vinyl please this big old thing. I'm going to go out and say it too. I think that this is going to mess up my top 10 for sure. This is going to be one of the best records of the year. Really loving his work on this album. So I hope you enjoy this record. Hope you find this review helpful. Please like this video, share it, subscribe to the channel, do all the things to help me blow this project up in 2022, and stay tuned throughout the week for more album reviews. We will see you next time on the Beat Sessions.